The impending return of Michael and Sarah for a hometown childbirth marked a turning point in my relationship with my in-laws. My mother-in-law's frosty voice delivered the news that their arrival was just 3 days away, sending me into confusion and shock. "I have to leave," I queried, seeking clarity. "Yes, we don't need another mother figure anymore. You've been redundant for a while now. Michael and his family will be living here, so make sure you're out by tomorrow," she declared, her words cutting through the air. From the day I married into the family, I never truly felt accepted. Treated merely as a wife, the revelation that I was now deemed redundant struck a painful chord. "Barren failure," she added, blaming me for not experiencing the joys of raising a child. "You should be grateful. We have no obligation to support you anymore. It seems like Simon is tired of you too." The mention of Simon's wariness caught me off guard. I gulped down my saliva, wondering if there was more to this than met the eye. If it wasn't just a conspiracy between my mother-in-law and Michael, then did my husband share their sentiments? I couldn't fathom being driven out, but my mother-in-law had ignited the flames. I decided not to stand in ceremony with my husband anymore. If this wasn't just a scheme against me, then the fate of the house was none of my concern. They would have to face the reality they had ignored for far too long. Personally, I, Anna Thompson, 45 years old, residing with my husband and mother-in-law in a popular area near the station, was ready to move forward. When we initially hunted for a house, the accessibility to the city center made this location ideal. My husband, Simon, 8 years my senior and a divorcee, was particular about the space and rooms. Despite the steep rent, we believed it was worth the stretch. Simon, whom I met through a friend's introduction, enveloped me in the unique kindness of an older man. After 2 years of dating, we decided to get married, undeterred by my infertility due to a past illness. Simon's affection remained unwavering, and he promised to make me happy. To avoid suffocation, we moved to a spacious apartment where I had my own room. Simon's son, Michael, from his previous marriage, turned 10 this year. Despite initial challenges with childcare, Simon's parents have been helping out. When Simon's father passed away, his mother took over as Michael's caretaker. Since our first meeting, Michael had been distant, avoiding eye contact. I attributed it to his shy nature and the difficulties of approaching adolescence. As long as they accepted me as a member of the household, I'd overlooked the subtle signs of unease. Initially, I found contentment in the quiet and refined demeanor of my mother-in-law. When I formally introduced myself after our engagement, she treated me with utmost politeness, leading me to believe that we would get along well living together. I'll continue to prepare the meals as I have been. Simon comes home late, so it's okay if we eat at different times, right, Anna? I'll leave the cleaning and laundry to you. All right, let's work well together, she suggested during one of our early interactions. After marriage, I transitioned from a full-time employee at the pharmacy to a part-timer, aligning with our division of household chores. Although I arrived home late, around 8 p.m., dinner was always ready, a comforting routine that contributed to my sense of contentment. My mother-in-law and Michael typically had dinner before my arrival, leaving me to eat alone. Despite occasionally feeling a sense of "is this it?" after getting married, I accepted our family style. However, from the start, my mother-in-law never warmed up to me and never considered me part of the family. One attempt to connect with Michael came before the school's activity day before summer. I asked about the event, hoping we could all go together. However, my mother-in-law interjected, stating that only Simon and she would attend. Her words left me shocked, and despite my offer to take the day off work, she insisted that I need not worry, emphasizing that Michael's family had always been just Simon and her. Misinterpreting her consideration, I suggested we all go together. It wasn't until I discussed it with my husband later that night that I discovered the underlying issue. "Mom's been clinging to Michael. She probably thinks you're trying to take him away," he explained, leaving me quite shocked by the realization. I decided that I would eventually address the issues with my mother-in-law, attempting to be involved as a mother during activity days at school. I noticed a growing distance between Michael and me outside of such events. There were times when I sensed Michael wanted to express something, but my mother-in-law consistently intervened, creating a barrier. To my dismay, I later discovered that she had been speaking ill of me to Michael. Anna said she could be happy with Simon if Michael weren't around. She's a terrible person. Dad must be deceived by her too, she had told Michael. Such toxic words had a profound impact on a boy in his formative years, sowing seeds of distrust towards me. It was a shocking revelation, and at that time, I couldn't fathom that my mother-in-law could stoop to such levels. After Michael graduated from high school, he promptly moved in with his girlfriend, leaving home once he started college. A year into his professional life, he married without a ceremony. Surprisingly, once Michael moved out, my mother-in-law ceased all housework. Instead, her newfound pastime seemed to be picking on me. She no longer cooked, a task she used to handle, and now sat at the dining table waiting for my return. While I stood in the kitchen preparing dinner, she would criticize. "You're really inefficient. At this rate, it'll take you all night." I had never been adept at cooking, having relied on my mother-in-law previously. Even when I managed to cook, she would taste each dish and complain, "This tastes awful. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best." She accused me of being tone-deaf when it came to flavors and remarked that it was a good thing Michael never had to eat my cooking. Her complaints extended beyond meals to nitpicking every aspect of my life, from cleaning tasks I never used to do to laundry. "Why are there so many wrinkles on the laundry? You have to vacuum every nook and cranny. You really can't do anything right. Didn't your family teach you anything?" Her constant belittling took a toll on my self-esteem, leaving me standing there, enduring the scrutiny of even my family. Frustration gripped me as my mother-in-law continued her relentless criticism. "I don't know how you won over Simon, but I can't see much charm in you as a woman," she would declare, always concluding with the same line. "If you hadn't come, Michael would have never left." Recognizing the void in her heart left by Michael's departure, I attributed it to empty nest syndrome. In an effort to endure her mistreatment, I convinced myself that allowing her to vent on me might bring her some solace. However, her bullying took on a renewed vigor after a particular event, the pregnancy announcement for Michael's wife, Sarah. The joy my mother-in-law exhibited surpassed anything I had witnessed before. "It's Michael's baby. It's bound to be adorable." "Yeah, he'll be my first grandchild," she exclaimed. While I shared in the happiness, her excitement seemed abnormal, possibly fueled by Michael's request for Sarah to have the baby at our place. Sarah's family home was an hour away by plane, and with no one else to rely on in the area, they turned to us for help. My mother-in-law, naturally, wouldn't dream of turning down Michael's request. The frequent phone calls from Michael and her feverish excitement prompted an immediate flurry of preparations. She zealously cleaned Michael's room, prepared the bedding, and even compiled a list of baby items, exhibiting what seemed like a case of great-grandchild fever. Being involved was inevitable for me. After returning from work, my mother-in-law would assign tasks, insisting on meticulous cleaning and waxing, making the nights especially arduous after a long day at work. Any attempt to cut corners would result in being told to redo the tasks. Adding to the strain, my mother-in-law began requesting money, and soon our house was overflowing with baby items. "Anna, I need you to withdraw some money tomorrow. There are things I want to get ready for the baby," she instructed. Concerned about the excessiveness, I questioned if it was wasteful to prepare so much when Sarah and Michael hadn't even arrived. I suggested waiting to choose together with them, expressing my desire to meet my mother-in-law's requests. The relentless spending troubled me deeply. "How can you be so cold? It's Simon's grandchild," my mother-in-law accused. I attempted to explain my concerns about the excessive purchases, emphasizing that I thought Sarah might want to choose things for her child herself. However, my mother-in-law's response was cutting. "That's right. You're not related to Michael by blood. You don't care, do you?" she declared, casting doubt on my intentions. Desperate to convey that it wasn't true, I pleaded, "Please don't say that. I just thought Sarah might want to pick things out herself. Wouldn't you want to choose things for your own child?" My attempt to reason only earned me a sharp glare from my mother-in-law, leaving me with a sense that I had gone too far. The next morning, my mother-in-law remained in her room, possibly still upset. Simon, preparing for a 3-day business trip, called out to her, urging me not to dampen her enthusiasm for the great-grandchild. He acknowledged that he shared my worry, but seemed dissatisfied when I expressed concerns about their spending. "Are you saying my earnings are too low?" Simon retorted, his mood turning sour. Frustrated, he left with a dissatisfied look, leaving discussions about money hanging in the air. As the one managing our finances, I couldn't help but think ahead, especially considering our shared property and our financial situation. Married for 13 years, Simon had provided us with a comfortable life, emphasizing that my part-time income was for my personal enjoyment. Over the last 5 years, however, his company's performance had declined, resulting in a significant reduction in his salary. Uncertain about the company's future, Simon seemed unwilling to change jobs, maintaining his position as a department head for appearances in front of my mother-in-law. Currently, I covered the rent, while Simon contributed to living expenses. To save face, we kept this financial situation from my mother-in-law. Recognizing the need to apologize, I left work early that day. Upon my return home, I found her sitting at the dining table waiting. "I'm sorry about yesterday. I went too far," I apologized, seeking to mend the strained relationship. However, my mother-in-law didn't respond. Instead, she blindsided me with something else. "Since Michael and Sarah are coming back for a hometown childbirth, please get out," she stated in a chilly voice. The return of the eldest son and his wife was scheduled in 3 days. Confused and stunned, I asked, "Me? I have to leave." Her cold response confirmed the unwelcome news. "Yes, we don't need another mother figure anymore. You've been redundant for a while now. Michael and his family will be living here, so make sure you're out by tomorrow," she continued. The realization hit me hard. I was never truly accepted as part of the family since the day I got married. I had been treated as a wife thus far, but now I was being forced out. The cruel words intensified, blaming me for being a barren failure and insinuating that Simon was tired of me as well. The mention of Simon possibly getting along with a new girlfriend left me shocked and questioning the distance that had grown in our relationship. Gulping down my saliva, I considered the possibility of falling into a trap, recalling that my husband hadn't had overnight business trips until a year ago. Attempting to maintain composure, I decided to eat out that night and left the house, walking aimlessly to calm my severely shaken heart. Worried about my husband, I tried calling his cell phone despite my mother-in-law's words, but he didn't answer. Calling his office revealed that he had taken a couple of days off. Adding weight to my mother-in-law's words, bad thoughts began to overwhelm me, and tears streamed down my face as I staggered along. Noticing a tavern behind the station, a place we used to frequent when we first moved there, I went inside. The tavern owner's expression clouded momentarily when he saw me, but then he nodded slightly in recognition. Feeling a sense of relief, I greeted him. "Hey, long time no see. It's been about 8 years. I used to come here a lot with my husband." The owner, a man of few words, responded with a simple acknowledgement, and I couldn't help but smile, finding comfort in the familiar surroundings. "Can I get a beer and a mixed plate of grilled chicken, please?" I asked, seeking solace in the familiarity of a place that once held happy memories. The tavern owner, a man of few words, brought me a cold beer and grilled chicken, and I took out my cell phone. The screensaver displayed a photo of us from Michael's 18th birthday, both looking sharp in the slim suit we had chosen together. Yearning for a closer family bond, I pondered whether moving out the next day was a viable option. As the day's fatigue was washed away by the cold beer, I searched for moving companies that could assist on short notice and saved 2 junk buyers in my favorites. Changing the screensaver on my phone seemed to clear my head completely, and the beer and grilled chicken tasted exceptional. I decided to contemplate everything once I got home. As I walked away from the tavern, I was startled by a young waitress from the tavern running towards me, asking if I was Mrs. Thompson. Confirming my identity, she shared a startling revelation. My husband was having an affair with one of their employees. Her frankness and youthful sense of justice brought a wry smile to my face. We exchanged contact information, and she promised to keep me informed if anything happened. This unexpected revelation added credibility to my mother-in-law's words. Instead of sinking into sadness, a fiery anger welled up within me. It was time to confront the truth. Determined to confront the situation head-on, I booked an appointment with one of the moving companies I had saved earlier. If it wasn't just a conspiracy between my mother-in-law and Michael, then I saw no reason to continue honoring my husband. The thought of being driven out seemed foolish, and I resolved to go all out and put an end to this chapter of my life. But it was my mother-in-law who had sparked this. Whatever becomes of this house now is not my concern. When I got home, I packed my belongings until midnight without hesitation. The moving company I had booked for exactly 2:00 p.m. arrived on time. I'm moving out today. The movers are coming, so I'll take everything I bought with me. I wish you could erase even the trace that you were here, I said, clearing out all the furniture and appliances, everything I had paid for with my part-time job money, besides the rent and living expenses. Watching the procession of my belongings being taken out, my mother-in-law started to panic. Wait, Anna, what are you doing? If you take all this, how will we live? To leave no trace behind. I'm taking everything I bought. You can start a completely new life tomorrow, I replied, ignoring her protests. She complained loudly to the movers, but there was nothing she could do. All that was left in the house were piles of baby gear and her old dresser from before the marriage. Well then, I bid you farewell. There should be no trace of me left. So enjoy your life with Simon, Michael, and his family, I declared, leaving her sitting there stunned. I placed the keys on the table and walked out. I had the movers hold on to my things for a while, and I decided to stay with a single colleague for some time. Feeling a sense of completion, I slept soundly that night. It was a week later when I finally heard from my husband. Wonder if he was scheming with that other woman. While my husband was dragging his feet, I got a call from the young woman at the tavern. Got a good shot, so I'll send it to you. In it was a photo of my husband chatting up a not-so-young woman at the tavern. Maybe out of a sense of justice, the young woman must have followed them after they closed. There was also a photo attached of the two entering a hotel. Even in such times, the cheating continued and any last bit of affection I had for my husband dissipated. I asked for the woman's name and had her address looked up. The next day, after I had all the evidence of the affair, my husband called. Anna, where are you at? Michael and his family are here too. Aren't you going to come home soon? No, I'm not coming back. Your mom told me to leave. I'm done here. Michael and his family are going to live with you now, right? I knew it. Michael and his family are out of money and looking to crash at our place. I heard that after graduating from a vocational school, they'd been hopping from job to job, and now they're working part-time. No, I want you back, Anna. I went to the pharmacy, and they said you're off for a bit. Got a place to crash. Yeah, I'm fine, so don't worry about me. Your mom and Michael didn't like me, right? I reckon they're happy to have the place to themselves without me around. My snide comment left my husband speechless. He knew his mother and Michael never accepted me as family, but pretended not to see it. Well, all right. I have something to say, so I'll come back there once. Yes, for the sake of my future. I need to finish this last chapter, my husband replied with a relieved plea in his voice. Days later, I went back to the house for the first time in a long while. There were some new pieces of furniture and appliances inside. When Michael and Sarah saw me, they just nodded from their seats on the sofa without getting up. As I took a seat, my mother-in-law glared at me with a scary look on her face. The atmosphere was tense. Just as I thought to get things done and leave quickly, Michael spoke up. What are you doing here? You took everything from the house. What kind of monster does that? Dad's been supporting you, and you've had it easy. I took everything because I paid for it. I wanted to remove all traces of me, just as you wanted, right? But that's crazy. There's no way you could afford all that just working part-time at the pharmacy. My husband finally chimed in. When I glanced at him, he started talking as if he resigned himself. We've been getting by on what Anna and I both make for a little while now. Then the stuff you took should be both yours, my husband admitted. Instead of my speechless husband, I decided to speak up. Simon's company has been doing poorly, and his salary plummeted. That's why, for the past 5 years, I've been covering what's missing. But that wasn't enough, and now I'm the one paying our rent. My mother-in-law looked at my husband with surprise. I'm not just a part-timer. I'm a part-time pharmacist, and the pay is quite good. I'm making more than Simon now. At my words, my husband awkwardly looked away, and my mother-in-law's eyes were frantically shifting between my husband and me. From now on, Michael, you'll be paying the rent. You're going to live here, right? After all the help your grandma's given, it's time for you to take care of her. Michael looked at me with a shocked expression when I dropped the news. Rent? How much is it? He asked. It's $5,600. Good luck. Since it seems my role as a mother is over, I don't have an obligation to take care of you anymore. Pull yourself together. You're going to be a father soon. That's impossible. It was Sarah who raised her voice upon hearing this. Wait, $5,600? Weren't we supposed to live here for free, covering rent and living expenses? I quit my job, and Michael, you only make $3,000 a month. What are we going to do? I almost burst out laughing. Don't worry, Sarah. You can move to a cheaper place. Simon still makes a decent salary. Hearing this, Sarah's face relaxed a bit. Oh, since I'll be leaving you? Simon's life might still get tough with your mistress, huh? At that, Sarah finally broke down in tears. It was my husband who panicked. What? What are you talking about? Oh, your mother told me about the new woman. I guess it's time to end my role as a wife, too. That's got to be a lie. For Mom, you're the only one for me. He must think there's no evidence. Indeed, it hasn't even been 10 days since I left the house. Wouldn't that hurt Mary if she heard you? Well, I'll get in touch about that later. At the mention of Mary's name, my husband jolted, realizing that I knew everything. He held his head and sighed. This is not the atmosphere to write a divorce paper. Well then, I'll be going now. Please talk to me further through a lawyer. Neither my husband Simon nor Michael said anything more, staying silent as I grabbed my bag and stood up. My mother-in-law stood up simultaneously, slamming her hands on the table. She yelled with a voice too strong for an elderly woman. What the hell? It's all your fault. Our home is in shambles. I was instantly irritated. It was you who told me to leave. It was you who said Simon had another woman. And you interfered with my relationship with Michael. Everything was you. I felt the surge of heat in my chest. I regretted not being more assertive with my relationship with Michael, not holding back because of my mother-in-law. Michael has nothing to do with this. It's time for you to step up, Simon. He's going through a hard time, and you should support him as his wife. Take responsibility as a family member. What is she even talking about? If she hadn't called Michael back home, if she hadn't hinted at Simon's affair, I would still happily support Simon and this home I always believed in and supported. Simon doesn't need any roles anymore. There's no going back. Then, looking firmly into my mother-in-law's eyes, I slowly said, I was never really accepted as a family member from the start, so I can't take responsibility as one. My mother-in-law's lips tightened into a line, and she was trembling. I slipped past the silent mother-in-law and quickly left the room. Afterward, Simon agreed to the divorce rather easily. It seems my determination was strong, and he couldn't counter the evidence of the affair. Shortly after, it seemed like they started the process of moving out of the apartment. In the end, Michael and Sarah went back to their apartment and never lived with my mother-in-law. Simon seems to be considering remarriage, But Mary was furious over the alimony and his request for her to live with his mother. I've heard they're considering whether to place my mother-in-law in a care facility. After all the love she poured into her son and grandson, it's somewhat sad to think they're ready to abandon her now. Perhaps she's served her purpose too. If my mother-in-law had said nothing back then, and it had just been a simple trip home for childbirth, maybe we would still be living together. After the divorce, Michael sent me an apology letter. He wrote about how, as a child, he really wanted to be more spoiled, how he couldn't talk to me because his grandma disliked it, and how happy he was when I attended school events. Maybe I should have reached out more. Perhaps then we could have built a different relationship. Even though our relationship has ended, I quietly pray for Michael's happiness in life. I've returned to work as a pharmacist and quickly rented an apartment close to my workplace. I don't feel good about keeping the furniture and appliances I took with me, so I had them all picked up and disposed of by a junk removal service. Life without my mother-in-law's harassment is peaceful and comfortable. For a while, I want to live for my own happiness, not someone else's.